and welcome to a special edition of the Fulham Focus podcast. My name's Matt Baldwin, and I'm delighted to be your host as we look back at arguably one of the greatest nights in Fulham's history. Fulham 4, Juventus 1. It is, of course, the 10th anniversary of this fairy tale, and joining me to run through it are Matt, Domm, and the person I like to call our boss, Dannyboi. So let's go.
Fulham.
Let's start at the beginning then. 3-1 down from the first leg with a slither of hope thanks to that very fortunate away goal from Dixon Atuhu. Honest opinion here, guys. Did you think we were still in the tie going into the same leg? When you were walking through Craven Cottage, were you thinking this is going to be a nightmare, or did you think, I reckon we have? Dom, over to you first.
Yeah, it was a kind of just let's see how this goes sort of thing. I think if it wasn't Juventus in Europe, you kind of think it's one of those ones where it's probably over, isn't it? But you have to go because, as we say, it's Juventus in the Europa League. You sort of think we needed to be one goal back, really, one goal behind, or to have got a result there. It felt like it was over, but as things were going that season, it was sort of we've always got a chance because this team was such a good unit together. So yeah, it did feel like we didn't have much of a chance, but once you just need a chip in a chair, and you're still in it, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I must admit, my feelings were on the night. I thought we could do well. I remember putting a bet on, I think it was a 1-1, Bobby Zamora to score first. So I knew we'd have a chance in the game, but in regards to the overall tie, I thought we were dead and buried. Personally, Danny, what about you?
Yeah, no, I still thought it was on. I went to the first leg in Turin, and although we lost 3-1, it was probably the worst performance we had of the entire competition. It's strange to come away from a tie away to Juventus feeling disappointed to lose when you're Fulham, but they were Juventus in name, and that's it. They just come off the back of a couple of years previous being relegated for breaking rules. I don't want to go into that. I can't remember what it was. They basically lost all their players and kept a couple of legends that stayed to get them back to the top flight. To put it into perspective, they finished 7th that season we played them, and finished 7th the year after, and then won 8 titles in a row, which is where we are to the present day. So the Juventus we played was very, very average. It's probably the worst Juventus side in history. We played terrible in the first half, and we was very much in our shell. I think we struggled to adjust to life without Danny Murphy, who was suspended. There was no creativity in the middle. And, I mean, I think they only had 3 or 4 shots in the entire game. But, we went in at half-time 3-1 down. Second half was much better, but the damage was already done in the first half. So I remember we flew back straight after the game. And I remember being at Gatwick, on the platform waiting for a train, talking to a couple of other fans at like 2 o'clock in the morning, thinking that Atuhu goal was priceless. I mean, arguably the most important goal of the tie. And I thought to myself, we can keep this tight and play to our best. We've only got to win 2-0. So the whole week I was pretty optimistic. I thought we still had a chance, and obviously that absolutely went to pieces within about 3 minutes of the game. But going into the game, I thought we could do it.
Fair enough. You obviously had a lot more confidence than I'd probably say the majority of Fulham fans. Now, getting on to the game itself, obviously it was a bit of a disastrous start, which just added to the script and the whole picture of everything. David Trezeguet scored in the first couple of minutes to realistically, put the tie to bed. I remember a guy sat in front of me, a couple of rows in front of me, got up and walked out because he said, "Nah, that's it, we're done." Go back and look at the footage. You could make the argument that it was a foul by David Trezeguet holding down Aaron Hughes for so long. But anyway, we move on from that. We then equalised pretty quickly through Bobby Zamora. But Fabio Cannavaro was sent off for bringing down Zoltan Gera in the 26th minute when he was deemed to be the last man. Now, going back and looking at this, again, it's another one of these things that arguably changed the tie because Fabio Cannavaro is a fine defender, arguably the best defender Italy has produced in the past 20 years or so. So it's obviously a key moment. Danny, do you think there was a red card, going back and looking at it, taking your biased feelings out of it? Was it a red card?
I don't think it is a red card. when you look, they've got a couple of defenders round on the cover, and Zoltan Gira wasn't exactly the quickest of players. So the ball's played through. It's played through at an angle, which is taking him away from the goal anyway. And personally, I think the defender would have got to the ball first, the other defender. So I think it was a booking. It was definitely a free kick, of course, but he was obviously sent off, deemed to be the last man stopping a goal-scoring opportunity. And for me, he wasn't the last man. So we definitely rode our luck on that occasion, in my opinion. And it couldn't have been a better player to go off. He was their leader, their captain. And without him on the pitch, their organisation just went to pot at the back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in a VAR world, I think that red card probably gets overturned because, as you said, there are a couple of defenders around him, and it was a bit of a 50-50. Dom, same question to you.
Yeah, I think we'd have been furious if it had been given against us, and Cannavaro was rightly so, I think. But even before that, I thought Bobby Zamora was bullying him. Cannavaro obviously is, his World Cup winner, and his record speaks for himself. But Bobby Zamora was absolutely bullying him even before that, and I think that was partly contributed to the kind of panic that he did to pull down Gira there. Definite free kick. Don't know if it would have gone differently if it had been a yellow card. It probably would have done, to be fair. But as I said, Bobby Zamora was having the game of his life up to that point. Yeah, so it was not a red card, but we needed luck in order to get anything out of that game, really. Yeah,
absolutely. We needed a little bit of luck. And the only thing that really would have turned that whole thing, because I think from that resulting free kick, Bobby Zamora had an absolute stormer. It was heading towards the top corner, but Meninga made an absolutely fantastic save. I remember I recorded it, that footage, and I still have it somewhere in the back of my hard drive somewhere. I have that footage because I thought it was going to be a goal. But anyway, moving on. The red card was a bit of a turning point. I knew you were going to say that, and I know Frenchie's making the same comments in the background listening. Anyway, moving on. Either way, the red card was very much a turning point in the match, as we've discussed. And we managed to get a priceless second goal just before half-time through Zoltan Gira, Simon Davis with the assist. At half-time, what was the atmosphere like within the ground? Did you think that there was that little bit of building sense of, hang on, we only need one more to get it level, they've got 10 men, we're in the ascendancy? Was there that little bit of, hang on, lads, we might just be able to do this? Dom?
Yeah, I think the first goal did that. I was in the Putney end that night, not quite quick enough to get tickets in the Hammersmith end, but watching that first half in the Putney end was quite something, actually, because we were really good. But even kind of there was a few Juventus fans mixed around me. It was a pretty good atmosphere to be in. But after that first goal, and especially the second one, they sort of went quiet, and even the Juventus fans, I think, could tell something was happening here. And we just didn't give up. We were just at them, attacking, going forward, bullying them the whole night long. And yeah, eventually we saw how it ended up. But yeah, there was the disappointment from Trezeguet's goal didn't really last very long from my experience of it.
Yeah, I was sat in my usual seat in the Johnny Ainge stand, and at half time, I think naturally the atmosphere was buzzing. Dom makes a great point. I think the Zamora goal was probably the most important goal of the game because we responded so quickly to go in behind. So there wasn't time to really sulk or think about the tie being over because the momentum was automatically switched back towards us. And I think it also caught them by surprise because I think they maybe took their foot off the gas straight away and thought, well, this is going to be an easy night. Of course, and then Gira scoring just before half time. I mean, the timing of the first two goals really knocked the stuffing out of them, plus the red card. The momentum was 100% in our favour, and I think naturally, I don't think it matters who the opposition was. I think the way the game was going, I think you'd naturally got to be optimistic in that situation. We was given the best opportunity in the second half we could have possibly asked for, and we took it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's half time. We then move on to the second half, and it was a bit of a perfect start to the second half as we win a penalty for handball. Damien Duff's cross striking the hand of their Brazilian playmaker Diego on the hand. With Danny Murphy suspended for both legs, and after his red card in Donetsk, which still baffles me what he was doing there, Zoltan Gira took over penalty duties and levelled the tie. Now, Zoltan Gira seemed to be involved with pretty much everything on the night, getting Cannavaro sent off, scoring 2 goals. pretty much orchestrating that Zamora-Gira partnership that more or less was the backbone of our entire season that year. Was this night his best performance in a Fulham shirt, taking everything into account? Dom, to you.
I mean, on the spot, I probably, yeah, because I can't really think of one where he was better. But really, all through that run that we got to the final, he was incredible. Him, Davies, and Zamora as well. They were all just played out of their skin, and that it was performances from those three. We didn't really see that level in the league. I don't think that was their kind of season, wasn't it? That Europa campaign. Gira was incredible. He was chasing after everything. I think the first goal wouldn't have really happened without his determination to get there, and really good penalty actually. I remember because as I said, I was at the other end. So I don't know. It makes you, for some reason, it makes you more nervous when you're not directly behind it going in, and when you're there behind the goal, you kind of feel like you've got more of an impact in where it's going. I don't know why you think that, but it's kind of the way. But it was a great penalty, and was it generous again, that penalty? I don't know. I remember thinking at the time it was a bit of a harsh call, but again, as we said, we needed that luck. But Gira was incredible, and I can't pick him out as the hero of the night because Zamora, Davis, Dempsey, they're all there as well, weren't they? But yeah, he was excellent.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much a sort of team. I think it'd be quite harsh to sort of single out a single person for that night because, other than the slip for the foul on Aaron Hughes, it was a pretty much perfect performance all the way around. If it weren't for that early goal, we beat Juventus 4-0. It's a great team result. Danny, same question to you. Do you think that this was Gira's best performance in a Fulham shirt? And again, in following on from what Mr. Dom said, do you think that he's really stood out on this occasion, or was he just sort of part of a grander thing?
Well, I think that the entire tournament was a credit to the team as a collective. It was a one-off for a club of our kind. But I think realistically, player for player, there were two or three that I think really pushed themselves to the limit. Like that, they were playing beyond anything that anyone thought they were capable of playing. The likes of Dixon and Tuhu. I'd put Gira in that bracket. I thought Gira was a bang average player for his stay at Fulham, bar that Europa season. And when you break down what he did in that Europa campaign, he scored the goal in a 1-0 win over Sofia. If he doesn't score that goal, we don't go through the group stage. Vital win. He scored the winner in Basel. He scored the winner in the semi-final. The goals against Juventus. I mean, he really stepped up to the plate. But I think on the night, I'd have to give credit to the midfielders because to play two legs without Danny Murphy, I'm not sure who played in the leg. I'm not sure if it was Chris Baird or Jonathan Green and played with a Tuhu. But to play without Danny Murphy and to hold your own in the way that they did, a Tuhu obviously scoring as well in the first leg, which proved vital. Yeah, I think it's very difficult to put it down to one player, but answering the question, I do think it was Gira's best game in the Fulham shirt. He was outstanding on the night, but as were all 11.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we saw a cover this. This is I don't know who got man of the match that night. I'm assuming it would have gone to Zoltan Gira, but you can make the argument really it was 11 men of the match. Let's put it that way. So moving on to what I think the majority, in fact, I think every single Fulham fan, and not even Fulham fans, football fans in general, remember about this night. So Clint Dempsey comes on, and the rest is history. I think we all know what's going on. It's going to be pointless sort of talking through the goal itself and your memories of it, because countless people have done that before. So let's think about it a different way. Was it a shot or was it a cross? Danny, to you first.
Yeah, I mean, I've never quite understood this argument. For me, it's 100% deliberate. It's a shot. I think the technique decides that for me. If it was a cross, you've seen it in the past where someone whips in a ball from out wide, and you can tell by the way they try and whip it in that it's a cross. And sometimes they get it a bit too straight, and it goes direct into the top, far corner and catches the keeper off guard. It doesn't quite have that whip to come back round into the box. But this, he dinks it. He doesn't try and cross it. He dinks it, which for me is a deliberate chip to the far post. Now, you could argue that it was still a dink towards the far post, hoping a bit of a hit and hope, hoping someone was coming round to header it in. But then you look at who was taking the shot or the cross. And for me, that type of shot is something only a quite selfish player would do, because it didn't look like it was on. I think you've got to have a lot of balls to try and do that. I think you've got to have a lot of desire to be the hero and score the winning goal. And I think Dempsey was the kind of player that would want to take that last-minute penalty, even though he knew he wasn't the best penalty taker in the team, because he wanted, be the hero and the glory. And for me, that decides it for me. I think he was trying to score. I think he was going for the glory. And what can you say? For me, it's genius. Bit fortunate that Uncle Fester was in goal. I mean, I don't know what's worse, the fact that he looked like Uncle Fester or the fact that he looked about 60. But, talk about riding your luck. Buffon's out injured. Alex Manninger's gets injured after the first leg. And they have to put in a guy who's plays the last game of his footballing career. Yeah, and I've actually checked that on Soccerbase. That was the last appearance, and I'm not surprised. But having said that, not the best goal in Fulham history, because that goes to Kasami for me, but certainly the greatest, because it just ticks all boxes. I mean, he couldn't have timed it any better.
Yeah, absolutely. And your point there, I was probably rambling a little bit earlier when I said it. It wasn't Alex Manninger in goal. It was whoever it was. His name escapes me. But the fact that it was his last ever game as a professional sort of tells you how much of a... For some reason, I thought it was a Manninger. But anyway, back to the thing. I think your sort of answer there sort of answers it. I think it was a shot because, again, just the technique and the way it was. And, again, just a little bit of luck in there. But I think it was a great... For the life of me, I don't know if anyone's ever sort of established this. Has he ever said it in an interview where someone's asking the question? We'll just never know until someone actually asks him the question. But until now, we'll sort of be the unofficial voices of the Dempsey cross come shot debate. Dom, we'll let you have another voice on this. Cross or shot?
I'm pretty sure he has said it was a shot, and I've actually changed my mind on this over the years. To start with, it's definitely a shot. Why else would he have found the top corner with it and all that? And I was giving him the benefit of the doubt, but I do think over the years, I think it probably was a cross, because just there was the fact he didn't look. He had no idea where the keeper was. If the keeper was off his line and he knew it and he found the top corner, then it's an absolutely magical goal. I think he's gone to a bit of an angle and he just tried to dink it across to the far post for Bobby Zamora to get onto, because if there's a striker in there that you want on the end of a cross at the far post at that time of the game, it would be Bobby Zamora. So I don't know, I've always wanted it to be a shot because it sort of takes the edge off it a little bit by the fact it was a fluke. But yeah, I think it has to go down as a cross. Sorry, lads.
Yep, that's fine. So after the goal goes in, we sort of held on quite comfortably because the game sort of died down a little bit from then. I can't remember any sort of major chances from either team. I don't remember Juventus having really that many attacking chances. It wasn't like the semi-final when Ruud van Nistelrooy had that chance in the 6-yard box. After Zongira had scored or a timeout. I don't remember any of those moments because Juventus were reduced to 9 men in stoppage time when Jonathan Zabina lost his head and lashed out at Damien Duff in front of the Johnny Haynes stand, and then we had the ecstasy of the final whistle going. Fulham come back from 4-1 down to win 5-4 on aggregate against Juventus. And, even if it weren't for the Dempsey goal and we'd have got in 3-1 and had extra time, I think just the way the momentum was going and everything, I think we probably would have beaten them in extra time as well. But the question remains: we've had a couple of great moments and a great night at Craven Cottage since then. There's the Derby game. That's the only one that sort of spring to mind immediately. Then there's always the Hamburg final. Many defeats of big clubs since then. Is this the greatest match in Fulham's history? No, I think in the immediate history, probably post 2000, it's up there in the discussion. But I'm sure many older fans will say, a great game against someone in the 1960s, or the from the FA Cup run or something like that. So I'll open it up to you guys. Danny, you first. I think you're pretty much going down as one of the more your knowledge of Fulham history is better than mine. Let's just put it that way. So I'll open it up to you first. Was this the greatest match and the greatest night in Fulham's history?
I've done a lot of research over the years, and I think my history of the club is reasonable. I wouldn't say it's the best, but I can only really judge based on the 31 years that I've been alive. But then you could say someone who's 70 who would have seen games in the 60s and 50s or whatever, they can't really comment on what happened before that. So I think none of us have been alive since 1879. So it's always going to be subjective. I don't think any of us are ever going to be able to say 100%, yeah, that was definitely the best game in our history. But I think you need to put it into perspective. We beat Ipswich 10-1 in the top division, but we were in the same division as them. This is Juventus. When it's on paper and a neutral sees it, they don't need to know about the red card and all the luck that went our way on the night. All they need to know is Fulham came back from 4-1 down to beat Juventus 5-4. For me, it's got to be the biggest comeback in terms of stature between the two clubs. We are Fulham. They are Juventus. Apart from Man United and Liverpool, they're the biggest club we've ever played in a competitive competition. And it wasn't like a pre-season friendly where it was a charitable, yeah, we'll play you, we'll give you a game. We were playing them because we deserved to be in the last 16 of a major European competition. So for me, it was a one-off. I don't think we'll see the likes of that in our time again. The drama, the fact that they went 1-0 up so early on added to the script and the tension. Oh God, it's over. No, it's not over. Zamora scored. The red card, the dodgy penalty. All their goalkeepers being injured, having to put temp choice. Uncle Fester in goal. Clint Dempsey coming off the bench and scoring the goal of his career. I mean, just everything. If you was going to write a list of checkpoints, what you want in the greatest game in the club's history, it had everything. And for me, what makes it even more special is that the significance of it. Solskjaer's Man United had a great comeback against Paris Saint-Germain last year or the year before. Unexpected. I think they lost the first leg at home, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, what a great comeback in France!" They went out in the next round, but that comeback led to the greatest achievement in our history. Without it, we wouldn't have got to the final. So for me, it's the ceiling of Fulham history. We've never reached a higher point than that. Beating Juventus, and it was at the Cottage, which I think makes it more romantic and more special. Without a doubt for me. I don't even think it's an argument. It's the greatest night in Fulham's history, in my opinion.
Well, I was going to go to Matt Domm and try and get his views on it, but I honestly don't think it's worth it because I don't think any of us could really put as eloquently or any more eloquently than what you just said there. So I think we're just going to move on there. So the game's over. Everyone's leaving. Everyone's all joyous. Everyone's all happy. I remember being incredibly drunk. In fact, that's the only thing I can remember from that game. Because it was 3 days after my 18th birthday. And when you turn 18, you just want to drink every single pint that is ever in the world. So I was just incredibly drunk that whole day. But coming out of the game, this obviously famous night. Did you think that, this, I don't want to say a turning point, but do you think this was really a proving ground for us? Now that we've beaten Juventus, who I think were the favourites at the time, did that give you a sense of, hang on, we might just be onto something here? Dom, I'll go to you first, seeing as you didn't have a chance to speak in the last one.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we were going to go and win the whole thing after that because the stars had aligned. We've discussed that we had a few elements of luck in that game, and we'd come back from 4-1 against Juventus to win 5-4. That just means we're supposed to go on and win the thing, doesn't it, really? I think I still can't quite believe that we lost in the final, to be honest, because it just felt like, why wouldn't we then go on and win? If that makes sense, because of what we'd achieved to that point. We not only knocked out Juventus, we'd knocked out Shakhtar, who were probably the best team in the tournament. Yeah, it was destiny, and we just fell short of it, really. I couldn't see anything else other than going on to win it from that point, really. And Hamburg proved that point even more, the way we came back again to do it. And there's only one more step, and we just fell short. But I suppose that kind of sums it up, doesn't it? Falling short in the final, just we're Fulham. We were never quite meant to win it. We were always just that one step away, and we wouldn't have it any other way, would we?
So, Danny, same question to you. What were your feelings come out of the game? Did you think that... I don't want to say that the tournament was ours for the taking, because there were still some pretty big teams in there, in there left. Wolfsburg were the German champions. Liverpool were in there. We all know the team that went on to win it, all that sort of stuff. So it wasn't exactly, a given that we'd beaten this top side. Now the world was ours to conquer. It was still a pretty tough running. But what were your thoughts after the game for it all?
Well, obviously buzzing, absolutely buzzing. I couldn't believe what we just witnessed. And despite Juventus being, like I said, quite an average team, I think they were a squad made up of legends that were just on their last legs. And going back to the point you made earlier about if Dempsey doesn't score, I think we win anyway in extra time because they were just too old. They wouldn't have been able to play with 10 men for an extra 30 minutes. So the tie for me was done anyway. But they were a squad of old legends and average players that couldn't believe their luck that they were playing for Juventus because they were still recovering from the relegation that they suffered a couple of years earlier. But coming out of the ground, I mean, it just proved that nothing was impossible. That was the crucial part of it. Was like, who does it matter who we draw in the next round? This team has proved that they can beat Juventus. I mean, Juventus were the favourites. More importantly, we beat the best team I've ever seen in my life over 2 legs in the round before in Shakhtar Donetsk, who were the holders. They were the European champions at the time. So to come off the back of beating those two, it seemed like, why should we fear anyone? I remember there was only 8 teams left in it. You had Atletico Madrid, Liverpool. I think you had Valencia, Hamburg, Wolfsburg. And if you was going to pick which teams you fancy to get out of those kind of teams, you'd probably go to Wolfsburg or Hamburg. And we ended up with 2 on the route to the final. So, I think we deserved to play 2 relatively average teams because Wolfsburg and Hamburg, no doubt, weren't as good as Shakhtar or Atletico. But, it felt like it was written in the stars. I'm going to make a confession here. I completely underestimated Atletico Madrid. I went into that final the whole day. I was so happy because I thought, we're going to win. They're just Atletico Madrid. Who are they? Completely underestimated them. And Diego Forlan on the night was sensational. But we won't go there because we're talking about the Juventus game. The question was, did I think we were going to go on to win it? I thought we had every chance. I'm not saying I thought we were going to win it, but there was no one that I feared from that point on.
Right. Once again, ever so eloquently put until that last couple of sentences when you happen to mention his name. So I know you're the boss here, Danny, but I'm banning you from the podcast forever now because you mentioned that guy's name. So that's it. You're not coming on anymore. But other than that,
Fulham.
Oh, for God's sake! You're breaking my heart here, Danny. You're breaking my heart. Anyway, but we're not here to talk about the final. We've done that plenty of times before. So that really just about wraps up this, momentous anniversary, nostalgic, whatever you want to call it, this extra special edition of the podcast. Thank you very much to our panel, to Matt Domm and boss Dannyboi, for sharing their memories of such an iconic feat and such a great achievement in our history. I'm Matthew Baldwin. Thank you so much to everyone for listening. Please recommend us to your friends, your fellow Fulham supporters around the world. Tell them they can subscribe through their podcast provider of choice or via our website where we upload every single show. It's incredible to think that we are already a decade past that famous start at Craven Cottage. Just think of how many times we've relived that Dempsey memory over the past 10 years. And really, it never gets old. I think we may even be doing a special 20th anniversary edition of this podcast when we'll probably be asking the same questions again, but maybe with a different panel to get their memories of it all. So let's just end this with the only way that's really fitting. Let's just sharing the commentary of that famous Clint Dempsey moment. Good night.
Ituhu. Dempsey. And Dempsey will try and chip one! Wonderful! Absolutely brilliant! A sensational goal from Clint Dempsey may well have knocked Juventus out. Just one of the great Fulham moments.